What is up, wrestling fans? It's the Wrestling Podcast. I'm your OCW. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to hit that bell on YouTube and subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcasting app. Today, we're talking about we're talking about The Rock and knowing too much about wrestling. So, this is old news at this point, but The Rock showed up on SmackDown September something. It was a surprise, sort of. I mean, I don't think anybody was super surprised. I think once Pat McAfee came out, I was like, I just saw a clip of him and The Rock chatting. I wonder if The Rock's backstage. Oh, wait. The WWE just closed on their deal with the Endeavor Group to join UFC and the TKO company. They're going to really want to put a lot of heat on a wrestling show. The Rock is there. That's the moment Pat McAfee walked out, I put all those pieces together. But I was like, that's a long shot. And then the moment Austin Theory came out and they started talking about People's Champion, I was like, so The Rock is about to come out. And then his music hit. And he did his thing. He stood around for 5 minutes and everyone cheered. He tried to get his feet wet in the promo game, which was a little rusty. But I mean, he's been gone for 10 years. So, it's going to be rusty. And then he did his rock bottom. He did the whole Rock thing. Exit stage left. Now, doubling back a little bit, Pat McAfee on his show before a college football game. I think that's when he does his show. He was speaking to The Rock, and they were talking about plans that were in place for The Rock to face Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 39. And The Rock said it was a done deal, but they couldn't get aligned on the story, so ultimately they shelved it. And it ended up being Cody versus Roman, with Roman going over. Now, he being The Rock, keeps promoting WrestleMania 40 as a potential place for him to show up again, potentially wrestle, and that person would be Roman, obviously. He said it on Pat McAfee's show. He said it on Heart to Heart with Kevin Hart. He's been kind of teasing it on social media too, I believe. So The Rock is, if nothing else, gauging fan interest. He's doing The Rock's thing, basically. He's going into business for himself, I think. I don't think anyone's telling him to say this stuff. I think he's trying to manifest it. Given that the SAG strike, the writer strike, and the actor strike is still going on, The Rock has time to do this sort of stuff. He can get back in the ring if he so wanted to. He's not hampered to do that. And to get into a program between now and WrestleMania is feasible. And I guess he would want to do it because that's money. The WWE just got a whole bunch of money, not only from the TKO company merger, but also from their new USA deal for SmackDown, which is SmackDown's going to USA in October of 2024. It's a 5-year deal. It's supposed to net $1.4 billion over the course of the 5 years. It's some crazy amount of money. So WWE is not broke. So they can pay The Rock, and he can continue to, pay for his mansions and whatnot with WWE money while the writers and the actors work out their business. And once that strike is over, The Rock is going back to Hollywood to make more mediocre movies. Yeah, I said it. And he'll turn his back. That's really tribal, what I just said. No, he will once again exit WWE. He's not turning his back on anybody. All that being said, how do you feel about knowing too much about what may or may not happen in wrestling? As a cynic and a longtime a fan and a person who, isn't in the camp of it's real to me. I know how the sausage is made. I know decisions are made on a storyline basis. There is a part of me that's like, I don't want to know that far ahead. And it's more for my own enjoyment. It's like knowing a spoiler for a movie or a show or something where you're like, I'm gonna watch that show, and then someone blurts out the ending of an episode or the series in general. You lose steam. You lose the interest. And that's kind of how I feel about The Rock trying to again, not a good word, trying to work his way into a Mania match with Roman for the title. I don't want to know this far ahead. I'd much rather him do what he did on SmackDown, which is just show up and start the program. And if we make it to WrestleMania with him, great. And if not, fine. But don't tell me 6 months in advance that that's the plan for me and Roman to be at Mania 40 and blah, blah, blah. I don't need to know all that. Don't tell me that. He could have sold the match without even mentioning Roman or Mania or anything. He could have just said, yeah, maybe I'll stick around for a bit. And everyone will just make up their own storyline, which is way better than you just telling me you're going to wrestle Roman at Mania 40. Because we know that it's going to be for the title. And, I mean, we're hoping that Roman goes over, right? If that's the case, Roman has to go over on The Rock. You can't have The Rock beat Roman and take the titles from him. That makes no sense. But I started thinking, when The Rock said that everything was locked in and they couldn't meet eye to eye on the creative, on the story of the whole thing, I started thinking, well, who couldn't meet who couldn't meet eye to eye? Whose creative was off, let's say, not where it should be. And I think it was The Rock. I think The Rock wanted to go over. I think The Rock wanted to pull on 39, I beat Roman, I take the titles from him, I be a heel or whatever, and then go a full year and then wrestle Roman again at 40, where then Roman goes over. That's completely based on nothing, but that's what I was thinking, because why else would they not meet? If the conversation is we want you to wrestle Roman, the obvious answer is he's going over because you don't work here anymore, man. And the whole point of this angle is to set it up in a Bloodline fashion where they'll cut promos on you not actually being part of the family, and you say, you started this whole thing and they wouldn't be there without you, and cut your old Rock promos and call them a jabroni and blah, 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 and get beat up by Solo, and you have things with the Usos, and you have something with Paul Heyman, and maybe Stone Cold comes back and he's on your side for a little bit, and you do tag team matches and blah, 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 and you work to Mania, and then at Mania, Roman obviously pins you and stands over your broken, decrepit, old pebble body, claiming himself to be the true tribal chief, and then you rocket that dude to the moon so that when the person who takes the titles from him comes around, whether it be Cody or whomever, they get a stellar rub because Roman beat Rock at Mania. And I think he said, nah, son, we're not doing that. And everyone involved was like, well, that's fine. Maybe next year. And he said, yeah, door's always open. And now that he's available, the door's wide open for him to come in and do whatever it is him and Nick Khan and the UFC people in Endeavor want to do. I don't know, man. I don't really even want him at Mania with Roman. It would be nice, but the last thing we need is The Rock holding those titles right now in what will be 2024. Please don't give The Rock the belt. Do not give The Rock the honor of taking Roman's streak, because Lord knows Brock Lesnar took Undertaker's, and we were all broken up about that because, again, Brock didn't need it, and neither does The Rock. Hey, Brock and Rock, what do you guys think about The Rock breaking the streak or even going to Mania and wrestling Roman? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for listening, and don't you ever forget,
I'm your friend, but if I ever see you in the ring, I can beat you. Don't you know? Yeah, yeah, yeah.